Hey everyone, welcome back to another GamePad online interview. We're going to get back to the stream in just a moment, but right now we're going to talk to another professional in the video games industry, and this time not the UK industry, so we're going to go all the way over to France to talk to someone. So my name is Nigel. I'm the co-founder of Mayamada and organizer of this GamePad online event. And as you've seen, we've been talking to people about their journeys into the industry and the work that they do at the moment. So next up is Anaïs Simonnet, who is the founder of the independent video game studio Fireplace Games. Anaïs, welcome.
Hi.
Cool. Thanks for joining us. Before we get into it, I'm just going to let people know you can send your feedback in the chat and our Discord. So we've got a Discord server set up. So if you're not there already, you can join that and continue the conversation after the event. I should also say that we're going to have an extended version of this interview also. That's going to be up on our YouTube channel after the event. Exactly when, I'm not sure yet, but at some point after the event. Okay, so let's get into it. So Anaïs started as a character artist and has been on a journey that has led her to create an award-winning game and co-found her own studio in France, as I mentioned. We've got an audience of sort of young people who may aspire to be in the video games industry. So for you to be someone who's gone from college, university, and made your own game, and then off the back of that, launch your own studio, that's a really good perspective to hear from. So my first kind of question. So you studied at, I've got here, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, but Rebecca College. Is that the right pronunciation?
Sorry?
Rebecca College.
Yes, Rebecca Super for Game, actually. The school changed names when I was there. So yeah, it was Rebecca.
Okay, cool. So, and they specialize in like video games, animation, and design.
Yeah.
So was that something you always wanted to do, to work in the video games industry? And how did you find your time there?
Yeah, actually, I've always liked video games, but I didn't think I could find a job, in this industry. I was like, there are some people somewhere making games, but that's not a real job,
Yeah.
I used to draw a lot. I used to draw characters. I loved telling stories about my characters and just designing clothes and faces and that kind of stuff. And one day I just realized that there were actual schools teaching how to make video games, and it was like, I knew I wanted to do that, so I applied to Rubica and I started the 5 years course. And yeah, it was really amazing because, I was finally able to do what I liked for real, and it's not always easy because there is a lot of pressure and a lot of work to do, and you have to, actually working on the game is not the same thing as just playing it. There were a lot of things to learn, but that was amazing, and I met a lot of amazing people there, and I've made tons of projects, and that was really fun.
Yeah, so you say, like, you touched on a good point, like playing games is not the same as making games. So when you went from just playing games to playing and also making them, what was like the main thing that you learned, if there was sort of one thing or a few things that you learned going into the actual process of making games?
I think the main thing we all learn is that it takes a lot of people to make a game, and you're not the only one working on it, so you can't just have a vision and decide everything, You have to work with other people, with other opinions and other intentions on the game. And maybe I think I didn't realize that before arriving at Rubica, because I always thought like, I have this great game idea, and I will find a team working for me and doing my game.
Yes, yeah.
But that's
only
not
your
how it
ideas.
works.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
think the main thing you learn at school is how to work with other people, and yes, it's I think the best lesson the school can teach.
Cool. And another thing you touched on actually is, so before you started or you realized there was a school where you can go to learn how to make games, the idea of like games not being a real thing, a real job that you can go into. And it's so weird for me, like, because the games industry is so massive and like in terms of like revenue and all that, it's so weird to have that reality with the idea that games is not a real job. So like when you made a decision, like how did you get support from like your family? How important was that support in terms of getting you to pursue this career?
Yeah, they were really supporting, and I really had that chance to have a family that was just okay with it. And I think they knew that I was going to work in the art industry anyway, like being a painter or comics writer, that kind of stuff. So
okay.
I think they were ready with the idea that I was
you prepared them.
An artist. Yeah, not being a banker or an accountant in a big firm. That wasn't myself, and I think they knew it. And so when I talked to them about that school, they were really supportive. Like, yeah, that makes sense. You draw and you play video games all day. So
yes. Cool. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So of course you'd go there. And like I mentioned, so you draw, so you character designs, and that's kind of I guess what you started with, and where you are now, or even just speaking generally in video games. Can you explain like what role a character artist has in games? And specifically to your point about working with other people, so at what point of the process does that occur, and who do you need to speak to sort of bring those characters to life?
Actually, I used to draw a lot, but I don't anymore in my job, because the main part of a character artist job is not a character designer. That's another job, but character artist is more like taking the character design and making it 3D into the game.
Yep.
And so that involves working closely with the concept artist and the character designer, working on the character. But you also have this whole big part, which is the animation, and I'm not working on the animations, but I must work with the animators, so my character can be ready for them. And so, yeah, you have you have to find a balance between the design and the technical constraints, and that's basically your job as a character artist. Okay. So you use 3D softwares to translate in 3D the original 2D concepts, and yeah, you work with the game engine to just put your character in there and set up it until the animator can do its job and animate.
Yeah. No, I think that's important to understand. Like you say, it's not like the one person that does everything. It's like it's part of the whole, and then so I guess it's important to have that communication and understanding. Like, you know, you're doing this part, and then someone else is going to come and do the animation or and whatever the next steps are. So that's cool. And in terms of making games, so you made a game called On Guard, which I understand was a winner of Best Student Game in 2018 for the Ping Award, which I had not heard of. Can you explain what that is and what that meant for you to sort of win this award?
Yeah, the Ping Award in France is basically the national award for video games every year. So it meant a lot to win it because it was like we were awarded with the best student game prize for the whole France. So of course we were really happy, and yeah, it gave us a lot of opportunities because we were also nominated to the Indie Game Festival, which takes place in the GDC at San Francisco.
Oh yeah.
And so we could go to GDC, which is amazing for junior developers. And yeah, and there we met a lot of people, and it's the same thing with the Ping and all these contests give you great visibility for your game, and there are people just coming to you and telling you that they love your game and they played it and they loved it, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we make games, just to see players enjoying it, just telling us that they liked it.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. Yeah, it's always like a good feeling to have, like, to create something, like you put it out and then someone comes back and says, yeah, well, first of all, I played it and I enjoyed it, which is great. So, but I mean, tell us about the game. What is it about, and where can we find it as well?
Yeah, so On Guard is basically a swashbuckling action adventure game. So it's inspired by movies like Zorro or The Three Musketeers or the Princess Bride, and that's coming from a French literature and cinema genre, which is the KPDD. It's basically swashbuckling in English, and yeah, it's that swordman or swordwoman fighting enemies with a lot of panache and pride, and just making fun of his enemies using the environment and making jokes. And that's this whole idea. We realized that there were no video games using this at all.
Okay.
There are a few games taking place in similar contexts, like with some musketeer design and that kind of stuff, but there were no real swashbuckling video game, and so that's basically what we wanted to do. So On Guard is a 3D action adventure game. So you play Adalia de Volador, which is another swordswoman fighting to get back in the game. She's fighting to take back her house taken by the enemies, and she's fighting with the swords, but also with everything that she can find in the environment. So you can, for example, you can jump on the chandelier and cut the chandelier and fall on the enemies and smash them, and you can push bookshelves so they can fall on the enemies, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a fun game, I would say.
Yeah, no, I took a look at it on the website, and it looks really fun. And I guess we can put it as part of stream, or put it in the Discord, or we'll share it with people so they can take a look at it as well.
Yeah, for free on itch.io.
Cool.
There is a game page.
Nice. So, and how many people worked on that game? Like, what was the size of the team?
We were 8. So yeah, because our last year at school is basically it's you are put in team of 7 or 8 people, and you make a game during the whole year. So we were 8 on Hangar, and we had the help of another student from another school for the music. So we did the music, and we had also the help of a student from our school, but from the animation side, and she did every voice line of the main character. Oh, really? So yeah, we were 8, but we had some help from other students.
8+. So, and then as I understand, you went from creating that game and then founding a studio with those 8 people.
Yeah, actually it was when we won the awards, and there were a lot of people coming to us saying that they enjoyed the game. So there were players, but there were also investors and publishers, and that's when we realized that we could actually make a real game and just sell it, you know. And at first we didn't really believe it, like it was too nice to be true. But we kept talking about it and talking with the publisher we met, and there was a point we realized that we had this opportunity and we could take it or leave it, but the opportunity was there. And so we decided that we wanted to do it together, and that it wouldn't make sense that half of the team would found a studio and half of the team wouldn't be there. It would be, it would be weird, and that's not what we wanted to. We decided that if everyone was okay with it, we would go. And yes, we were 8. Cool. So yes, we are 8 co-founder, which is a lot. Usually it's like 2 or 3 people. And we are 8 from the start. So that's a big team for an indie studio.
That's cool. I like you have the like, speaking of musketeers, you have like the all for one, one for all kind of thing. Like, we will go together, or we don't.
Yeah, that's the spirit.
Yeah. So the question, you kind of answered my next question, but I'll kind of touch on it. I just want to highlight, like, because at that point when you're graduating, you might think the natural path is to go work for a studio or publisher, whatever it might be. So I guess I understand why you didn't, because you had this opportunity, like you say, but how much did that play into your mind in terms of, we could just take the normal, safe, whatever word you want to use, route, and just work for a publisher? Like, how big a challenge was that to sort of turn down?
Actually, after our graduation, we all worked for around 2 years in different studios, because we were not. It took us a lot of time to seize the opportunity, you know. And so we worked in different studios. Half of the team actually worked at Ubisoft. The other half in different part of France. And I think we all realized during these years is that, you know, making games for other people is not the same. You can work on great games, working for a big company or for a publisher, but your own ideas and your own energy is not fully used the way it should be. And yeah, we wanted to take this opportunity and try to make something different with it. And it's not a chance you have every day. So I think we all wanted to try at least. So just to see where this can go.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And I guess in a way you've kind of taken the third option, which is actually work for a studio, and I imagine you've got like experience there, and then take that to form your own studio to work on your ideas as a team. So then, if like say for another like young person who's maybe in a similar situation and thinking whether want to work in the games industry, but do I go into a publisher and work for someone, or do I work on creating my own game? Like, what would you say to them? There's multiple routes, but what would you say they should consider when deciding how to approach their entry into the games industry?
Say, making games on your own is really fun, but it's also really hard. And I think it's best to start with working for other people and working for a studio or a publisher, because you have that safety, with your job, and so you can learn things and while being financially safe and think about your own ideas and your own projects, maybe in the evening. And I think that's important to build experience before launching a studio, even if I think you could actually launch a studio right after school. But I think I know for me it was really, really important. These 2 years actually were really important in my knowledge, because there is the things you learn at school and there is the things you learn working at the studio, and they are very different actually.
Yeah.
And I think having that experience is always a nice thing.
Okay. Yeah, definitely when you're creating something of your own, it is a whole different learning learning. So we're going to get into that. Hello and welcome back. We're here with Anaïs, and we're speaking about her journey in the video games industry, from award-winning student game to co-founder of her own video game studio. So Anaïs, I wanted to dig a bit deeper in terms of the founding your own studio, because that's like a big deal. And one of the things I saw on your profile is that you're sort of learning about business and management. And so you've gone from playing games to making games, and from making games to managing the game making process. What have you learned on that side of things, like the business side of it, and what has surprised you in it?
Yeah, I learned a lot of things because I mean, creating a company is like a whole thing.
Yeah, because that's a different game at all.
Yeah, that's a very different part of my job. And then there's creating a video game company. That's also another thing that's a bit specific. For example, in France, you have some specific laws about it and specific funding opportunity, and you have to know them. But what's nice is that the French developer community is very small, actually, and once you know a few people, you know everyone, and people are really eager to help. So I was really, really helped by a lot of people, a lot of experienced people working on different studios or working in their own studios. And so, I learned a lot of things about finance, about management, about just, what does it mean to be CEO of a company, basically, because I had no idea. I just thought it's like, it's the boss, it's just the one taking decisions and making the money, and that's it. And that's not it at all, and that's a whole job, actually. And I think that what surprised me most is the amount of time it takes, because at first I was thinking I can maybe do 50-50, like half of my day I'll be character artist and half of my day I will be CEO, and actually no, being CEO is almost a full-time job.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is a lot of things to do, but I like it because I like learning new stuff, and there is also that by funding your own company, you have the power to do things differently, because there are rules about building a company.
Yeah.
There are also like common practices, but these common practices sometimes you can choose to be different and to try something else. And that's what I like, because we try a lot of different things at our company. And so you're basically just trying something that maybe not a lot of people have tried, and so no one can help you on that side. but yeah, you just try to play by the rule and try to innovate and be a bit different.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of communication with the team, and yeah, we take all our big decisions together with the 8 co-founders and our 2 employees. So actually, making a studio is basically like designing a game. It's really similar, because you design your own rules.
Yeah,
so
that's and your own
the same thing.
environment.
Yeah, so that's equally funny, I guess.
Yeah, no, I get that, because you're starting from the beginning. You've got nothing but this idea, and then you start putting the pieces together. So you put the people together, you put the vision together, work out where everything goes, and then you start, like you say, you try things, you might make mistakes, you learn from them, then you go again. So I get what you're saying. I definitely feel you on the idea about sort of working within a system, but then also being able to set your own rules within that to innovate and make change, because I feel like the value of, if you're an independent game studio or independent anything really, is that you're working within an established order of things, but sometimes that can be a bad thing. So if there are sort of like negative practices or practices that maybe hold things back, like you have the flexibility to say, actually, we're going to do it this way, and if we want to set this vision for the industry, we can start with ourselves and set that example, and then hopefully that becomes like a rule. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. So I know we've talked about On Guard. You have a game you're working on. So I imagine you can't say too much, but what can you tell us about what you're working on at the moment, and how you're looking to improve on the game that you made together first time around?
Yeah, what I can say is that if you played and you liked On Guard, you will like our next game, because of course it's a whole new project, but we take a lot of that experience, because that works. So we try to use it at the best way possible, and the intentions and inspirations are very similar. So yeah, that's a whole new game, but that's kind of in the same spirit.
Okay, cool. And then the rest is top secret. You have to follow follow them to find out when they make that announcement. What I'm interested to know about, though, is, so even though you won an award for the game you made together, I know there's always things to improve on. So what do you think, like looking back at that game, what do you think was some of the things that you could have improved on, either technically within the game or personally in the way you sort of operated during the process?
Well, I think for a prototype student game, we were doing great, but it's still it was aimed at just having a good grade at the final jury, and so there is a lot of things like, for example, the game graphics are very poorly optimized. So it was made to be running on the school computers, which are very expensive.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people that can't play our prototype because the graphics setting are so high. You actually can't play with a normal computer, and that kind of stuff. We did it because we had not much time, and we didn't need to make a whole game. It was just like 20 minutes of gameplay. So we took a lot of shortcuts like that, but it was terrible.
Okay.
It's like great in the front, but you should
in the back. Right, yeah. Yeah.
But I think when you're doing a prototype, that's what you should do, because you just want people to understand what is your game, and giving them the intentions, and making them wanting to see more.
Yes.
But if it's not perfect on the technical side, that's okay, because you can see that later.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can fix that, and especially when, I guess, like, now you have the mindset of we're making a whole game, so now you're doing sort of the proper process rather than trying to get it for just a 20-minute demo or whatever it might be. So, okay, cool. And like, again, we touched on like the idea of, so you're CEO and looking to like innovate in the industry through your company, and I saw that you've done some work with women in games, and that sort of diversity in the games industry is a big thing for you. So I always like to ask people, like, what does that mean to you? What does diversity mean to you, and what have you been working on to sort of further that in the industry?
It's really important, because I think every game developer puts a bit of oneself in the game he makes.
Yeah.
And if you want to have an interesting and diverse game, you must have an interesting and diverse team making it. And I think that the reason why we often have a very similar game coming every year, year after year, is that just because the game developer community is still not so diverse, and it tends to go on the good side, I think, but we have a lot of work to do to get to a nice point. And I think the more diverse the teams are, the best game we make, and that's really something important for me, because I just want to make great games with great people, basically.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really important for us in the team, because like I've said earlier, we have that kind of one for all team spirit. And I think that if we're working so well together, is because we complement each other very well, because we have very different skills, but also very different personalities and opinions. And I've experienced that working very well. And I want to keep the team the more diverse possible, because that's a winning strategy, basically.
I agree, definitely. I think, like you say, when you get the same types of people making games, you'll get the same type of games, and eventually you'll run out of like ideas because you'll just be doing the same things. So I think it can benefit from that. And I agree. Like, so for me personally, because I make comics, and like storytelling is a big thing for me. So I always feel like you increase diversity, you'll get different types of stories, and different types of stories will then lead to different types of games. And then you won't have the problem of people saying, like, when people complain that, oh, they're releasing such and such game again. Well, that's why. So yeah, no, I get that. And, I know, Women in Games operates, sort of in different places. So what kind of initiatives and projects do they do in France?
A lot of things, actually, on a lot of different topics. For example, they have an esports incubator for League of Legends,
okay.
I think.
Yeah.
So they take a few women that are that have an already good level in the game, and they help them to enter to the esport game,
Yeah.
And that's on the esport part, but also they do a lot of interventions in events or in schools, that kind of stuff, so that women are more visible, because sometimes, in an event you have a round table with like 9 men and 1 woman, and it doesn't help to teach young girls that you can work in video games. I think that one of the reasons why, when I was a little girl, I didn't realize that I could work in video games is that I knew no woman working in that industry at all. So I think that identifying yourself to role models is very important, and that's what Women Games tries to do, like having these amazing women that volunteer to go on events and speak in public about their jobs and their career. And yeah, so they do a lot of
kind of like outreach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's definitely important. I know, like I mentioned, I sort of do workshops with young people, and since starting that, it's been a few years now, but since starting that, I've really understood like the impact having that representation and role model, an example has on young people, because like you say, when you go to a place and it's like a round table and most of it is men, it sends us a subtle signal that this is not a place for you. And that has such an impact on young people, because then they make decisions based on that, and then you're facing a situation where they're not even trying to get in the industry, or they just don't know, and that's kind of a loss for the industry as a whole. So yeah, no, it's good that you're doing that. So to round off, I'm always interested to ask people, because we have a new generation of consoles coming up. So my first question is PlayStation or Xbox?
That's a difficult question.
Yeah, I was like, I'm trying to get people to people keep answering in a reasonable way, which is good. But yeah.
I would say PlayStation, because I've always been a PlayStation player.
Okay.
But I think the next Xbox is really interesting, and I think the price is a lot lower. So yeah, we'll see. But for now, PlayStation.
Okay, that's a good, reasonable answer. That's good. Yeah, so also PlayStation. However, I do like the idea, well, actually, and Switch as well. And I like the idea that between Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, you kind of got 3 different strategies. I don't think we've necessarily seen this before, where sort of the top 3 companies are taking different approaches to the way they play their games. And it could mean that like everyone wins in a way. I say win in like, wins in air quotes, but yeah. So I think it's good. It's going to be interesting to see how those strategies play out. And then the follow-up question to that is like, what do you hope to see in the next generation of games, either whether it's something console specific or game wise, or even just as an industry? What do you hope to see like change or further develop as we go forward?
Well, what I love in games is characters. So I always, it's a very, very important thing to me in the game I play, and I'm really looking forward to see well-written and diverse characters, because we have some, and yeah, but still, there are a lot of games that, I don't identify with the characters, and it bothers me. I would really love to see like so many diverse and amazing characters that everyone can relate to them. And yeah, I hope it's the future.
Cool. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Definitely. So, and yeah, before we end, just let people know where they can find you on social media and all that. Just let us know where we can reach you.
Yeah, we are pretty active on Twitter, Fireplace Games. Yeah, mainly Twitter. We have an Instagram account, but we don't post a lot for now. And we have a website. So Fireplace Games just fireplacegames.com.
Yeah.
And you can find everything about On Guard and our student prototype, but also on our new game company, and you can see the team, and we are actually hiring a character artist to replace me. So if you want if you want to apply, you have the job address on the website, and yeah, we have a contact mail address too, so don't hesitate to send us a message.
Cool. There you go. All right. No, thank you for joining me and giving us that perspective from your journey into the games industry.
Thank you.
Cool. And as always, you can send us your feedback on this interview to feedback@myamada.com. This has been sort of one of the many interviews that we're doing, just to open up discussions and showcase different sort of diverse talent in the games industry, whether it's in the UK or in this case, France. So yeah, please do follow us, join our Discord community, where we'll be making announcements for upcoming events and panel discussions that we've got like for this year and then going into the next year. Also, if you are interested in hearing more about MyAmada and hear more from me and Tazi as well, we also have a podcast, Story X Story, where we talk about stories across pop culture and just do a bunch of deep dives into like comic book movies, sci-fi, anime, manga, and video games. So we do like video game interviews like these. So that link will be in the description. I'll put that somewhere there and you can check that out. So yeah, that's been our interview. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please do follow us and stick around for more to come. Until then, we will see you all next time.